They're claiming that we made a deal with them. We never made a deal with them on neutrality until we talked to our membership. Our membership with AOT, ASME, CWA, and Teamsters was overwhelmingly no. We don't want a neutral stance. So we listened to you. The reason why this is circled and the reason why we are here right now is because all of you stood in solidarity and we're together. They have never seen a presence like this before. This has not been an easy fight. If they had the votes on number one, they would have ran it by now. They don't. And if they run it today, we will let them know. Not acceptable. We still have chances that we can do this. Still call your senators. Text into them right now. You let them know that you are out here waiting. You want them to vote no on number one. And if you don't feel good about those substitutes, you tell them you don't even like those. This is you. We're a democracy. We listen to our people. We don't give in to pressure.
Okay, y'all, that's in Utah, and that's public service workers protesting to the GOP legislation because unions, okay? Here's the thing, I don't feel bad for them at all, because you guys were all warned about this, and then even after the election, you were all happy, daddy's back, and we kept saying to you guys, I guess you're gonna have to learn the hard way. I guess you're just going to have to learn the hard way. It's not our lesson to learn. It's y'all's lessons to learn. And so here you guys are learning your lesson the hard way. And there is zero fucking sympathy for you because all of us who saw it coming screamed from the rooftops about Project 2025. And you all told us we were full of shit. Looks like we were not full of shit. And you guys are now in the shit.
What's up everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. FAFO season is getting wilder and sweeter. A group of Utah union workers are out in the streets protesting. They are mad about the very thing that they voted for. Yeah, basically they effed around, now they are finding out. They voted against their own best interest. Because a bill has just been signed banning public employers from recognizing labor unions, their wages, benefits, and job security is just gone. So no more collective bargaining, no more protections, just vibes and regrets. If you're new to the channel, kindly consider subscribing, like the video, and drop me a comment of your opinion in the comment section below. Let's get into it, guys. I'll be back with more commentary.
I can't understand how any union member voted for Trump outside of voting for racism. Notice in that video, you don't see a black face nowhere in that crowd. Black people and minorities are being locked out of the blue-collar jobs. I believe it's going to be our downfall. A lot of people don't want to do blue-collar jobs. We need to motivate kids more to get into the trades, but the trades are full of racism, sexism, nepotism, and favoritism. We need to eliminate it in our unions. It's disgusting. It's time. You guys voted against your own money. You should have voted for your families. You voted for racism. Fuck around and find out.
Let the union busting games begin. This bill prohibits public employers from recognizing labor organizations for negotiating. This prohibits people from entering collective bargaining contracts. Basically, Utah's House of Representatives just shit all over their teachers, their firefighters, their police officers, their EMTs, probably like CPS workers, and all sorts of employees. Unfortunately, this is only the beginning. It'll soon be private sector, and it'll be many, many more states. It's all part of P2025, just like we said. Not to mention that 45 and Muscanazi here, they hate unions. They hate them.
So in the latest example of fuck around and find out, Utah firefighters watch as the Republican representatives take away their rights to collectively bargain. And it's not just for them, it's for police officers and teachers too. As of Thursday afternoon, HB 267, as written, would eliminate collective bargaining for public sector employees, including teachers, firefighters, and police officers. While it would not prevent public employees from joining or forming unions, it would prohibit government employers from recognizing a labor organization as a bargaining unit. And if they are allowed to not collectively bargain, then your union means absolutely nothing. This is once again getting what you vote for. Like, it's 2025. If you haven't figured out that the Republicans are against the working class and against unions and will do anything they can to destroy those things, you're a fucking idiot. If you're a union member voting Republican, knowing, you have to know they're trying to destroy your union and your job. It's like they think, oh, it'll never happen to me. Yes, it will. They don't give a fuck about you. Vote your wage.
So the people I feel bad for are the people in the unions who did not vote for these legislators. Ohio in 2011, we had Ohio Senate Bill 5. And this basically would have stripped all public workers of their right to unionize and eliminate all the unions. They had petitions go out, they signed them, it went for a vote in November, and that shit failed. It did not pass at all. It was they called that at 8:30, 9 o'clock, and our polls closed at 7:30. But it blows my mind. And this was introduced under Republican legislature in Ohio. And I do not feel bad for union workers who are registered Republicans and vote Republicans when time and time again, the Republican Party has showed they do not give a fuck about you. So all you folks in unions in Utah that are Democrats or at least use your brain and are like, hey, these people aren't good. Let me not vote for them. Let me vote for the Democrats. I feel bad for you. Anybody else, you fucked around and now you're finding out. It's hard to feel bad for you.
I said after the election that we were going to see more and more of these cases. I didn't know it would happen this soon. But there's an element of people who voted for Donald Trump or supported Donald Trump or whose organization was in a position to endorse either candidate and then didn't. And now they're finding out. It is the f around and find out. That's what's happening right now. And firefighters and different public service job people in that sector are really finding out. I don't know what it is about firefighters. I certainly know what it is about cops who want to support somebody like Donald Trump because he wants to give them total immunity for gunning down innocent, unarmed citizens. But firefighters, that's real public service. That they're not granted power to harm citizens. They don't carry weapons. They don't feel like they're authority figures to run roughshod over constitutional rights. They are first responders. They oftentimes show themselves to be heroes. Rarely, that's the case with cops, in my view. But firefighters are different. So it bothers me and it makes me quizzical, to say the least, as to why they would withhold their endorsement as a union, as a group, as a collective from Kamala Harris, refusing to endorse this election. They endorsed Joe Biden in 2020, but why not Kamala Harris? Curious, you would think they would be smart enough, intellectual enough to noodle through what the outcome would be of supporting Donald Trump and a party that doesn't want to fund anything other than tax cuts for the super wealthy. Here's a headline from October 3rd from the New York Times. Firefighters Union declines to endorse a presidential candidate. The International Association of Firefighters was one of the first unions to endorse Joe Biden in 2020. In 2024, its board voted not to endorse at all. They took the tack of the Washington Post and the LA Times. We're just not going to make an endorsement, which is a tacit endorsement, is what it is. Smash cut to December 21st. New York Post, fire unions livid as funding for 9/11 health fund excluded from federal budget, funds in jeopardy.
The Utah State Legislature just passed a bill getting rid of public unions. There is a lot to unpack here, but it just passed in the House, so it hasn't passed in the Senate. It hasn't been signed into law. Also, what you should know is Utah is like a political test tube for conservatives because it's so conservative, like pretty much supermajority are conservative representatives, that the Republicans take the most far-right things and laws they can do and try and get them passed in states like Utah where they can get passed just to see how it goes and how it can gain traction. And so this one is really interesting. But also what you should know is in Utah, because it's more conservative, you can still have unions, but they aren't as strong as they are in some other states. And there can be a lot of problems here in Utah. There's not a lot of good training in unions, and there's a lot of issues with personal representatives in unions and getting the representation that you need. And I've sued quite a few unions here in Utah with the lack of representation and leaving my clients high and dry. But so they're trying to abolish it completely, and there's including teacher unions, and there's a lot of teachers, because the union is so bad, that they just opt out of the union and they get insurance. And because of that, then they don't have to deal with a union representative. They just have insurance, and they can get an attorney like me to represent them, which can be a lot better, especially with how crazy it is understanding public employment law and your rights, your constitutional rights as a public employee. So that's one thing that the bill does, is it still requires them to get professional liability insurance. So as a practical matter, I can see how it can be more beneficial, because having an attorney could be way better than what a lot of people are dealing with the current union as is. But also it's a First Amendment issue, because you're essentially abolishing their right to assemble, the free speech, bargaining rights. So there's issues to unpack there as well. I don't think the law as it stands will be able to pass, but I think that also something has to be done with the unions. Again, I've been suing them all the time. It needs to be fixed. I don't know if abolishing them is the way to go, but there needs to be, they need to beef it up. They need better training with their unions. Representatives need to understand so many people get terminated or have issues where they don't have representation present. So there's a lot of Weingartner rights that get stepped on. So yeah, Utah's fun.
All right, folks, there you have it. Actually, as you have seen, this union voted against their own best interest. Now they're finding out, actually, as a bill has been signed that prohibits public employers from recognizing labor unions and all other these collective bargaining rights that they had. So as we are watching this, actually, we say we told you so. You effed around, now you are finding out. But one creator was bold enough to state and ask the question, why don't they see a black person in these marches? Why don't they see any black person actually in these protests? And another creator actually stated the fact that this union used to endorse, the Blue Party, Biden. They endorsed Biden, but not Kamala Harris. Well, if you ask yourself the question why, I think we all know why. Maybe it's because of the fact that Kamala Harris is a woman, or maybe it's because of the fact that Kamala Harris was a black woman. And if that's the case there, that is racism. I'm sorry, but that is racism. That is unacceptable. You go ahead to vote against your own interests just because you don't want to vote for a woman, or just because you don't want to vote for a certain person who has a certain type of skin color. We all know that conservatives have always for years been against these unions. They have always been going after these labor rights for decades, but you still went ahead and voted against your best interest. Now you're finding out, as they have signed this bill, this means that every employee that actually joins any public sector, they are not allowed to join any union labor for collective bargaining. This is actually what used to help people to be able to bargain for better wages, better working conditions, better benefits like health or pay on leave. But now all this has been lost because of your ballot box decision. You effed around, you find out. This is the FAFO season. This is the season of finding out. And Everybody is finding out. Actually, Donald Trump is coming for everybody. He's not just coming for immigrants. He's not just coming for illegal immigrants, as we all thought he was going to do, because most of these people thought that, you know, the orange man in charge was only going to come for illegal immigrants, was only going to come for, you know, the countries which were ripping America off, countries like China, countries like, you know, Canada, Mexico, which actually he had stated that he was going to bring a tariff against those countries. And you all voted to make America great again, but you did not realize that the orange man in charge and his political party were coming for the labor unions too. They are coming for you. They were coming for your benefits because they don't like what you got going on there. All right, guys. So I want us to look, why do these, you know, people actually keep on doing the same mistake, keep on actually voting against their own best interest? It only comes down to these three things: misinformation, culture wars, and straight up manipulation. First, a lot of these folks genuinely don't understand how unions work. They've been fed this lie that unions are corrupt or bad for business, when in reality unions build the middle class. Now the second, which is culture wars, instead of focusing on their own paychecks and working conditions, they get distracted by politicians screaming about woke culture, immigration, and whatever outrage is trending that week. Now the third thing is actually manipulation, in which these politicians promise job growth and economic freedom, but what they really mean is corporate control and worker exploitation. So next time when you are going to vote for someone, make sure to vet them accordingly. Make sure to do your research. Make sure to talk to your union leaders and actually do some research for yourself. Don't allow these people to think for you, because you can think for yourself. You can actually weigh down what actually benefits you and what does not benefit you. Don't fall for the scams. Don't fall for the manipulation, because whatever language of manipulation these people might be using in order to win elections, at the end of the day, it might not actually benefit you. So you need to know what you are voting for. You need to know if the person you are voting for is actually going to uphold your rights and your benefits. Thank you very much for watching this far, guys. Subscribe to the channel if you are new, like the video, and let me know what your opinion is in the comment section below. As always, guys, see you on the next episode.